stay mad, chip on my shoulder cause they treat me like an outcast. I ain't gonna take.
How's it going, you? Welcome to the Iceberg Lounge, the coolest, chillest, illest show on the internet. We are the best show in the world. Top flight
What's the?
security.
Did you? I mean, I may have missed it, but did you go over like the genesis of the Iceberg Lounge name, like on the first episode or anything?
Nope.
I don't think
No,
so.
never talked about it.
No.
No.
I was like wondering about it. Like, what? I mean, I get the reference to it being a chill show, but I was
So-
like, what else is it about?
So
Cool shit.
the Iceberg
Cool
Lounge
shit.
Cool shit.
is the hangout for the penguin.
Mhm.
And
Okay, I mean, you have that all referenced in the artwork with it being like, I guess,
yeah, it's just
comic
a hangout
reference.
spot
Yeah,
where you just
yeah.
show up and hang out. It's chill because it's for penguins or something
Yeah.
like that.
Friday night, chill time. I
For
got
sure.
it. Cool.
So gotta say what's up to Sam. I am showing up.
Sam, what's up, man?
All right, and for today's show, man, it's just gonna be pretty chill. We're gonna be talking about video games, just whatever, comic book stuff that we remember, memories like that. And like I said, today we got
Oh,
Kavi. I was
Yes.
practicing that before this. Make sure I got that right. Thank you for coming
yes.
on here. with us.
Often mistaken as Javi among many of the Latino community in this country. Call me that by accident, and then immediately start speaking Spanish to me, of which like I can get 15% of maybe what they're saying. That it's been a while since I was well versed in Spanish, but yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
it's more embarrassing for me because I actually am half Spanish and I have no idea what
Yeah,
they're
you
saying.
actually have Latino roots, right?
Yeah, and then they just give me mad shit like, aren't you Latino? I'm like, yeah, well, yeah, but
Yeah, shouldn't you feel like?
yeah,
Don't you feel any guilt
yeah, I know.
about connecting with your
It's-
roots?
Especially like whenever I go down to South America, they just look at me like I'm just a total idiot.
It was like a
Yeah,
no
well-
sabo.
Well, I don't. I've been to India and I don't speak Hindi or which is like the national language of the country, and there's like a zillion other languages spoken in the country that I don't speak.
Yeah.
So I've experienced something similar to that. It's been a long time, but that
Yeah.
sort of initial like, what like.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do speak 2 languages, and then a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's cool. You speak 2 languages." I'm like, well, that just means I'm mediocre at 2.
Yeah.
What's the other one?
Spanish.
Okay, so Spanish. Okay.
Yeah, but it's always easier when you speak someone who speaks both because you can bail yourself. But
Hmm.
I forget both. I speak both terrible.
So is that hat Cabela's because I know there's a video game franchise called like Cabela's Dangerous Hunt. Is that related to that in any way or no?
No, I just got this hat.
So
They're
it's just a
giving them out for
total.
free.
It's a total
But-
coincidence.
Yeah, but I know
Alright.
what you're talking about. The hunting game.
Yeah, it's like it was like one of those games where they just constantly released every year on like Nintendo Wii, like every freaking year, like another, or maybe multiple versions, like year over year over year of that game. Like I never really got into that game or anything, but
Never.
it's one of those franchises.
I'd say the only hunting game was like the duck hunt.
Duck
From,
Hunt. Big Buck Hunter was popular in arcades. That's as far as like being like a light gun hunting, deer hunting style game. But like I never got into it personally. But it's a big thing in this country, I think. Though it's like, an extension of your real hunting is doing some arcade hunting kind
It's
of
a
thing.
it's a slow game though. Like,
I can't get into those. I can't.
I
Yeah.
played it like obviously because like I grew up in a town where there wasn't an arcade. You go to a bowling alley.
Sure.
And they'd have like
Yeah,
4 things. So if that was there, I would play it. But it was it's so slow. Like, you're just waiting for something to run across the screen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I always miss, and it would make me angry because it was like right
Crazy.
at the beginning, and it was almost mostly arcade.
Hmm.
So like you guys were speaking, dropping quarters.
I mean, I remember the light gun games I remember the most from the arcades. Time Crisis, definitely up there. But also because I had it on PlayStation, and I had like the at home like version of it that I could experience at home later. The T2, Terminator 2, Judgment Day,
Mhm.
great light gun game. Those are probably the top two that I played that I can like pinpoint in my head, like that I know I've played in the arcade back in the day.
I would say like one of the top ones that I did was House of the Dead.
House of the Dead, yeah, that was another one. That's a Sega classic, So I definitely played that in the arcade. Probably not as much as you, but definitely played it.
Yeah.
Good
I
ones.
think one of my favorite ones was I think it's probably nowhere the Jurassic Park. Like
Oh,
the
hell
whole
yeah.
thing was
Hell
moving.
yeah. Yeah. You're on like the back of the Jeep, like
Yeah.
plug in,
Yeah, you're like, oh shit.
That's
Yeah,
fun.
that was a fun game.
Definitely.
So do you guys have like a favorite era?
Man, that's tough.
Yeah. I think like I'm 40, so I feel like I was lucky to see everything come to fruition, like from Nintendo to Super Nintendo, all the way up until whatever, to PS5.
Mhm.
I feel like Super Nintendo was probably my favorite.
I love Super Nintendo.
But
So good.
PlayStation 1, like I felt like changed everything.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I'm with you. PlayStation 1 would be my answer, actually. But like, I hate giving an answer to those kind of questions. Like, even the question like greatest video game of all time, it's like, well, okay, but according to what metric or what qualifications, right? Like, does it have to be something you grew up with? Does it have to be something that you experienced when it was actually coming out, or is it something that you retroactively discovered and now say you think is the greatest? Is it
I think
specifically
like
console, specifically arcade? I feel like specifically, handheld gaming versus regular console game. Like, there's so many different subcategories of video games that I find it tough to answer these like broader scope questions because there's just so much nuance, I guess.
yeah, I always had like friends, that would be like, I'm a PS
It's a
guy
good
or
one.
I'm an Xbox guy or whatever. But I always kind of felt like if I had enough money, I would just be all those guys because I wanted all of them. Like I wanted
Exactly. I was the same.
I wanted
Yeah.
Gears of War and I wanted Metal Gear and I wanted Mario Brothers and I wanted all of it. I feel like the luckiest people now are like the kids growing up now. Like my son is into like PS3 games and
Sure.
like everything. Like he can actually has a back catalog of whatever he wants to play.
That's awesome.
Where I kind of had to like grow into it and like wait for everything to come
out. I think there's a little bit of the magic missing when a console generation switches over to the latest now, though. I feel compared to back when we were first coming up in the 80s and 90s with obviously the I'm a little too young for Atari 2600, although I had it at one point, but I had it after I got an NES, so like I had to like circle back to Atari 2600 later after I had an NES. But like the difference in quality and graphics and music and sound from 8-bit Nintendo to 16-bit Nintendo and like Genesis, that felt like a seismic shift of like, this is like, it's never going to get better than this, and then PS1 came out and N64 and all those, like that era. And it was like, whoa, but then since every generation since the PS1 generation, I've felt less wowed, I guess.
I feel like that happened at the end of the PS3. At the end of the PS3, everything was starting to look really, really
360 good. Games look as good as the games on Series X now to me somehow. My eyes,
That's what I'm saying. Like, so the PS3 games like ended with like God of War and stuff, and it was starting to really look good. And then PS4, and it's like a slow burn now. There's none of that huge leaps anymore of like, holy shit, this is the next big thing. I remember.
Yes. Sam I Am is calling out some bangers there. NHL 94 for Genesis is the greatest sports game of all time, bro. That's the shit.
I think for me, what he said, Grand Theft Auto, that definitely changed the game for me. Because that was like, games were usually pretty linear. You're like, okay, oh man, I wish I could just like jump off this lane and go explore this area back here. And
Right. Open
Grand Theft Auto did
sandbox
that.
gaming was kind
Mhm.
of not really a mainstream thing until
Mhm.
GTA 3. So
And
I
so
spent
for
more
me,
time like
I think
driving in that
for
game.
me, I guess in like when you're talking about greatest, I guess it's for like everyone what they remember the
your
best.
personal favorites is
Mhm.
more appropriate than greatest of all, because there's so many kind of like variables to that question, and differing opinions and viewpoints, and they're all valid. So
Yeah, and I didn't really like have a Nintendo or something when I was growing up. I played it like when we went to like parties. I remember all the kids would go into like one room and then we have like an MK3 tournament and stuff. And also I remember it that way. But I remember it was like the PS2. That was like the first system that I bought with my own money. And then I was
what a
like,
system, though. I mean,
yeah,
that's the highest selling console of all time, 158 million units worldwide. Still number one selling console ever. So, and it, brings along with you the backwards compatibility thing, which before that was not really a thing unless you were a Game Boy player. Like you had a Game Boy Advance that could play Game Boy Color, and like, so on the handheld side, it was that was a thing earlier on, but in the
yeah.
console side of things, that was a game changer with that PS2. Carry your whole PS1 library over. You don't have to worry about that. You still play all those games just fine.
Did you
I
guys,
love the PS2.
all right, go ahead, Sue.
Oh, no, I was just listening.
Oh, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
did you guys have a Nintendo, a Game Boy Nintendo?
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
It totally was cool if you were in your bedroom, but like on long road trips, even
I
with the like
mean,
magnifying light,
yeah, like
it's still
the
like it was
OG
rough.
the OG model didn't have the backlight, and
Yeah.
you had to like put a
A
freaking magnifying
with a
glass
light on it.
contraption on it, which I
And
had,
it
but
was still so hard to play it too.
still it was so hard.
I remember taking road trips and I'd be like holding it like this, trying to look at
Yeah.
it and be like, it was so bad.
It wasn't until like the third version of the original Game Boy, like where they added a backlight. I think it was like with one of the Pocket models or
Mhm.
something, and it's like, okay, finally we're here. But I never had one of those
Me neither.
upgraded Game Boy. The only OG Game Boy I had was the original model, and it
Me
was
too.
difficult to enjoy if the lighting environment was not absolutely perfect for it.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. That Mario game though, the Super Mario Land or whatever, that was freaking awesome though.
So good, man.
Yeah, that was
That's a
so
classic.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah, I mean, Mario games are always great for just like that casual gaming session. Like, just pick up and play. You don't need to think too hard. You don't need to remember where you were in the story, where you left off. And
Oh, yeah.
it was, like, obviously games have come a long way as far as like the ability to like have a save file and stuff. Like, like you didn't even really have that in the 8-bit era. You didn't have.
Yeah, but
You had it in some games, but not majority of games did not have that feature.
There was a lot of those codes like the up, down, down, left, right, AB, like where you could like
the cheat codes.
Yeah, that way you could like select whatever level you want to do. Like that was always kind of cool. But
I remember taking out of the library like these published books that had like cheat codes and like game guides, and I would dig in. I was addicted to like the Nintendo Powers, the Game Pros, the Electronic Gaming, whatever. All those magazines were like, that was like my drugs. At one point.
I like tear out like the cheat code page.
Yeah. You had Game Genies and shit.
Oh, I still
Remember
have
that?
my Game Genie. Yeah, I have it around here somewhere. I just found it not too long ago.
And
like, I don't have anything. I mean, I wouldn't use one today for any reason, but I just remember distinctly back then that it was like such a big deal. Like,
Yeah, it's still cool to have. Like,
yeah, it is cool. It's just a collectible at this point.
I don't know where.
Do you guys have a favorite Mario game?
Super Mario World.
That's
old school. Yeah.
Super Mario World, Super NES. I would agree, because that gave you, or I would even say Super Mario All Stars, Super NES, because that gave you the first 3 games on NES. It gave you Super Mario World. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like the cheating answer for me.
You get all of them.
Yeah, that's the one that I keep in my Super Nintendo up here.
I like the 3D ones. I played the shit out of Super Mario 64 on N64. I really liked Super Mario Odyssey on Switch, which is not even that old. Like,
Yeah.
5 or 6 years old, and that was a great game. But I like, my heart is with the 2D Mario games, not necessarily with the 3D ones per se.
Yeah.
I feel like any Mario game I've had fun with, like,
Totally.
and those side scrollers, the new ones, like the newer Super Mario World, like I love those.
Okay.
Oh man, those are
I'm
fun.
I'm
And
not a
Super
huge
Mario
fan of
Land.
them. Yeah, I'm not as big on the new Super Mario Brothers 3D. I mean, that like 2D, 3D ish kind of like weird look.
Oh
Although
man, I love that.
the new one that they announced that's coming out this holiday season, Super Mario Wonder, it looks very trippy, and like I'm enjoying the colors and the art style of that. So I'm actually looking forward to playing that one. But the ones that came out on the like the Wii U, the Wii U, and then they just keep re-releasing them over and over again on 3DS and now Switch, right? Um, I would say that those are more towards the bottom of my personal list, but they're not bad. They're still
Yeah,
fun.
I would say, like, yeah, if I had to pick like bad ones, those ones they wouldn't be at the bottom. But I'm just saying, like, even my worst Mario games,
Yeah,
I still really enjoy playing.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm with you.
And
I'm the same way with Zelda, which is like the
Yeah.
other big Nintendo franchise where it's like,
Yeah, I agree.
give me a bad Zelda game and I'll find ways to, enjoy the shit out of it, like quote unquote bad. Like, I don't think there really is a bad one. Like the second one, I think the closest thing to a bad one is the second NES game, which is like it went so far from what the original was, and then they never kind of went back to that style, in any future Zelda game. So
I felt like I was a little young for the NES Zelda games. So, like, my earliest memory of a Zelda game was Ocarina of Time.
okay,
And
that's probably my personal favorite Nintendo game. So yeah,
I love those games, and even like the ones like Twilight Princess, which it gets shit on a lot.
that's the only game. That's the only game I have in my collection graded is Ocarina of Time. I have a sealed graded. Well, no, I mean, for a while it was the only video game I had in my collection graded. I recently picked up a Majora's Mask Zelda 3 on 3DS sealed, graded by CGC 9.6. So I have one CGC graded game and one WADA game. I've got maybe 30 or so games that are sealed in my collection that are still sealed, where it's like maybe 10 of those I would consider sending into CGC at some point, because I have other ways of playing those games. Like I don't need to rip open those games as my only way of playing that game. So I might send some more in to probably CGC, but we'll see. Like that's a whole other. You can do a whole other show about like grading other collectibles besides comics. I think, and video games is part of that conversation. Cards, VHS, whatever.
Yeah.
Because I do think it's the collectibles market is kind of like moving a little bit towards that, especially since I feels like comics have kind of cooled down. So it does seem like there's even kind of like a little pivot, even in the movies and stuff like that. So let me see here. Sam I Am, the up, up, down cheat code was a game changer. How else you gonna finish Contra?
It's
right,
funny.
man.
It's funny
Contra.
they use that code for like every game.
It's called the Contra code. That's what people call it.
But I think that was the same code like for Sonic too.
Yeah, I mean, it was just
universal.
It was just universally copied across the board from that point onwards. I think just out of, like gamer secret. Like you're part of this community. That kind of thing. Yeah,
that was awesome.
Which is cool. I like those kind of things that are kind of like nods to the nerds.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so I think I don't think I would have ever passed Contra. Like that game was hard as hell, dude.
It was pretty hard. It was fun though.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah.
And then Comic Collector said 3DS was his favorite.
It's a good one.
So many options. So that one goes back about 15 years. That was a good one because that's the one.
No, it's more recent.
More recent.
Like Switch came out in 2017. Switch replaced Wii U and 3DS. Nintendo had a dual console strategy prior to 2017, right? They had a home console, right, and they would have a handheld in the marketplace at the same time. So dating all the way back to NES and Game Boy. Then you had Super NES and Game Boy Color, Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Advance, right? That they left off on Game Boy Advance. And then once you got to N64 and N64 and GameCube, then they started the DS, the regular DS, right? Then once they got to the Wii and the Wii U, they had the 3DS, right? Which the 3DS also played all DS games, so it had the whole DS library and the whole 3DS library. The DS is the second highest selling console of all time. PS2 is number one. DS, and they combine the DS and the 3DS sales, and they just call it like the DS family of systems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's why it kind of is like an inflated number in that regard, but whatever, you call it, the DS set of systems is the second. And actually number 3 now of all time is Switch. Switch is up to 125 million consoles sold worldwide since 2017, which is insane.
That's wild. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
So yeah, they've always had that dual strategy up until Switch, where it was like, this is our home, this is our handheld. It's both, right? And it was a magic bullet for them, I feel, to sort of take the console market back from their competitors to some degree. Because Wii U bombed.
Yeah.
Wii U bombed.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. They tried
Wii U sold 13 million. That's it.
Yeah.
No one knew what Wii U was. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a peripheral for my Wii.
Did you get one?
I didn't get one. I was like, oh, it's an add-on for my Wii. That's what I thought.
Yeah, we got one, and I felt like we had it for a year before the Switch came out. It was like so fast that the Switch came out after that.
Yeah, because it just never got any traction.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, my son kept fucking up the cord on it, and we'd have to order a new cord because he'd bend it and stuff.
I feel it was a little bit like, it was a little just janky, like with the whole the control pad thing, but it's not fully portable. Like you still had to stick close to your TV.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's what sucked.
You know, like what?
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know. Like I think there's some hidden gems on that console, which you know, Nintendo thankfully remastered and then put out on Switch and became huge hits on Switch. Like look at Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the biggest selling game in the freaking world, like 100 million copies of that fucking game. Yeah. That's a Wii U game. Yeah, Breath of the Wild Wii U game that
so it was the Mario Maker. They did that with
Mario Maker. Yeah. So there was a lot of like games that have like a legacy from the Wii U, but people just know them because of Switch. You know, they don't know Wii U. Really.
Yeah, I remember we had all those games for the Wii U, and I was so upset that I had to rebuy them for the Switch. But they turned out to be like better games.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other can of worms about gaming in today. In you know, because Nintendo especially is like, they really propagate making their consumers rebuy their favorite games over and over and over and over again. They had the eShop on the Wii. You bought all your old school NES and SNES games on there. They didn't carry over to the next store, right? They didn't carry over to the Switch eShop. Whatever they do next, if they don't carry over your Switch eShop stuff to it, and I'm gonna revolt. Like I don't know if I'm even gonna buy. Like I'm being serious. Like I might boycott the next Nintendo system if whatever digital games that I've bought, especially on Switch, don't carry over. Like we're in the digital era. Like you got to have those.
Yeah, that sucks.
You know,
to do it like that.
And I know like some people were trying to do it. Like freaking PlayStation was trying to do it. Xbox is trying to do it. Some systems where it's like
Xbox is kind of the Microsoft/Xbox gaming is kind of the one company that is doing that kind of thing right. From a function of going back to 360, a lot of those games are backwards compatible still on your Series X and your Series S of today, right? Plus they have Game Pass, which is like and they offer pretty much all their big AAA titles day one, which they don't have as many. They don't have as many as Sony, and they don't have as many as Nintendo.
They have gotten like a lot more friendlier because I remember when they were trying to launch, I forget which system it was, but there was like the always online feature. And
Xbox One, DRM, which was a real controversial subject where they were essentially trying to limit consumers' abilities to share games with friends, buy used games, because your ID would be associated with the original purchase to your Microsoft account or whatever it was, and they ended up having to like backtrack significantly on all that because they got so much blowback. And freaking Sony put out that now infamous video where it's like, this is how you share games on PlayStation 4. You just hand it to your friend, you know? Like
Yeah.
that
But
was a
it's-
burn right there, bro.
But if you download games on the PS4 though, you only get 5 downloads of that game. So like if you share it with friends,
Is that the case? I didn't even really know that, because I
yeah,
don't know
so-
if I've ever
so-
had to re-download that many times.
Yeah, so like if you like because I would give it to my brother or I would give it to somebody,
Okay.
and then after so many, like after 5 times, that's it. So like if you have to get another PlayStation, that counts as
That's a
another-
bummer. I hope they do something about that. But
I
I
don't know
kind
about
of have
this
more.
one.
I have more faith in Sony than Nintendo to sort of at least evolve. You know, like I think their whole PlayStation Online platform, PlayStation Plus Extra, PlayStation Plus Premium. I think that stuff has gotten better, and they've given people more options and more games to play in these different pricing tiers. And you know, they have those monthly free games that they just give out to everybody that is part of that, even the lowest, most basic tier, where you're literally just paying for access to get multiplayer gaming, right? Basically at the lowest tier. And you still get 3 free games a month. And some of those games are huge AAA, you know, releases that they have on the monthly list. So,
Yeah,
you know, that was something that was always cool about the Xbox 360 live with gold, or whatever the hell it was called back in the day. Like I mean, I know we're not the show and tell portion yet, but I found my original Xbox 360 headset.
Oh, there you go.
And that just gives me a lot of nostalgia, because 360 was like that first like online console where you could actually like hop into these first person shooters and, you know, playing Halo like online with people and shit. Yeah.
Or people have like LAN parties or whatever. Where
Yeah,
you
yeah,
actually
yeah.
have to connect the Xboxes and stuff.
I remember Xbox 360 was the first one to, I think, do the trophies, and I was addicted to that, like trying to get
Oh,
those
achievements.
trophies. Yeah, achievements and stuff. I was like, holy
Yeah.
shit, I loved it.
Yeah.
That's
I've
something
only done
Nintendo. That's
one.
something Nintendo really needs to figure out, bro. Like
Yeah.
how they don't have, you know, like crazy community wide level achievements for games like Smash, you know, Smash Brothers or Mario Kart, those kind of games where it's like those games thrive on the online multiplayer community, especially, right? I mean, single player games I can understand, like, you know, it depends on what type of gamer you are. If you really care about the trophies or the platinums or whatever, like I personally don't care. You know, if I can achieve it, and I have enough time to do it, maybe I'll try. But it's not like important to me where like I need that platinum trophy. You know, like
That's what I was gonna ask. Like, do you guys normally platinum? Do you have like how many? Do you have any platinums or anything like that?
I have 10 platinums on my PSN account, but
I might have 3.
well, a lot of those are like easier games that are just kind of like, it was like a $5 game that took me like 5 hours to beat or less, you know, like
like the type that I platinum is the ones that you just beat the level. You know, you just
right,
complete the whole thing, like because some of that
right,
stuff
like
is
beat the
insanely
like
hard.
by lieu of beating the game, you have platinum.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I have that, but like 3 tops if I do.
Right.
Because I think I've only done one, and that was like Arkham Asylum. Now I remember that was a game I got obsessed with the little.
I mean, that's a great
trophies.
game.
Yeah. So, but that's the only one that I've ever even tried that. And but then
did you,
have you guys
was that on
played-
a was that on a PS3 that you platinumed, or
Yeah, I
or
think it was a
Xbox?
PS3. Yeah, because
PS3.
it was when it first came out, and I think it came out on the PS3 first.
Came out on PS3 and Xbox 360 at the same time, but yeah.
I wasn't sure if I played on PS3 or PS4, but I think it was a PS3. I never really had an Xbox.
PS3 is the one Sony console era that I skipped, because
really?
when it came out,
Price tag?
it was
$700.
$800
Yeah, I know.
or whatever.
I didn't have
$700.
I didn't have a PlayStation
have it.
3 forever. I had I turned into a 360 guy.
I turned into a 360 fan or whatever you want to call it, because it was affordable.
Yeah,
and it was good.
they had a lot of games like Gears of War and Fable and fucking Halo, and
They had great exclusives, and they
all
had all the
exclusive.
They had all the third party stuff that came out on both systems. Oftentimes, it was better on 360. It wasn't until like almost the end of the PS3 era where like Sony caught up with their PS3 development with their software developers, and the game started being a lot better. And you had games like The Last of Us come out, on PS3 towards the end of the cycle, and they eventually caught up and just barely overtook Microsoft on console sales.
Yeah.
But really, that was the first console generation where it was the console war ended in a tie.
Yeah, my son told me that PlayStation won that, but it was a long burn. But like I couldn't afford it.
I couldn't afford it.
I was like 17 or 23 or whatever I was. But it was, like you said, it was $700 plus 60 for an extra controller plus 50 for another game. It was like I don't.
Yeah, look, in hindsight, do I wish I had it at the time and developed a library for it and kept all that stuff till now? Yeah, probably, because especially that first model, because it's remained backwards compatible with PS2 and PS1. Once they got to the second version of PS3 and they eliminated the backwards compatibility, and then the third model, then they made a even slimmer, like fourth model, like all those weren't backwards compatible.
Yeah,
so
I wish they would just stick to the backwards compatible.
I know, but it's not as easy as just saying it or doing it.
I eventually got the PS3 and that backwards compatible, and then I had like a Red Ring of Death type of thing.
The big fat one with like the glossy black.
Yeah, and they said the reason it was so expensive was because they put the Blu-ray player in it. Remember, because that was going to be the new thing, and that they said just to have the Blu-ray player was like a $500 thing, because that was gonna be the thing that took over DVDs and it never did.
Right, and honestly, PS5 today is my only 4K Blu-ray player now.
Yeah, I don't even watch DVDs.
Video game systems have been my main DVD/Blu-ray/ now 4K Blu-ray players since that era of Xbox 360, essentially onwards.
I remember back then they were competing actually. Like Xbox had the
HD.
What's it called? HD DVD.
Yeah, HD.
And then
HD DVD, which bombed
versus the Blu-ray. Yeah, you can find those at I saw them at flea markets the other day. I saw a bunch of HD DVDs, and I'm like, well,
you never know. Those might be collectible. I don't know the values, but I'm sure rarity is a factor with those.
But I think as far as maybe trying to actually use them though, but you probably have to find an Xbox or something.
I actually never really liked watching the Blu-rays because it was so clear. Like you could see the makeup on the people's faces, like the actors' faces. It was almost too much. It's almost
a different, I guess, topic, but in a way. But I mean, I love physical media because it's not constrained by the limits of your broadband connection and issues around what's going on with your internet. So,
I mean, just like DVD quality. Like I'm fine with DVD quality.
I think what you're saying is also a function of the increase in pixel resolution on TVs going from 1080 to 4K to 8K now is available, and PS5 has up to 8K resolution. It doesn't do HDR or you're not going to get like 8K 60 frames per second gaming or anything. But you will pretty soon, I think, in the next year or so. You're going to have those kind of monitors coming out.
We have a 4K TV and it looks good, but when we have movie nights outside and we're using the projector, there's something special about
definitely
the grittiness. I
agree.
Yeah, how shitty it looks. It's something makes it more fun. I like it.
Yeah. I like that. What you were saying, some movies, I feel like you do experience better, in lower quality. Like one example was 300, because it's so. If you watch it in high definition, you can see all the grain, and it's so.
Yeah, because they use film cameras to it. A lot of what your experience seeing movies today is if it's shot digitally and you're then experiencing it on a digital screen, it doesn't feel as jarring as if it was shot on film, transferred, remastered, just messed with essentially, right? To then properly display on your modern digital television at 4K resolution. There's a lot of steps to take that source material and prep it to be available for current home entertainment setups, I guess. And there's some sort of magic lost there. I would agree with that.
So like when it comes to, I guess, to like video games, are there any like what are some of your guys' favorite like video games based
Final
on comic
Fantasy is
books?
my top. Yeah, Final Fantasy is my top series, along with Zelda. Like I have a tough time choosing between those two. Um, and I just spent 55 some odd hours finishing Final Fantasy 16. Like that game dropped like 3 weeks ago, so like I've been obsessed with it essentially for the last 3 weeks until I beat it. Like I couldn't stop. Like I just
Yeah.
like every free second I had was like, oh, I gotta play it. Like,
Is that one like a turn-based game? Because I remember
it's not.
no.
It's action. It's action combat. It's like
Oh man,
It's like
Is it
it's
okay.
high. It's like high, quick speed, like
Because I
frenetic
never
action.
could get into Final Fantasy back in the days because I couldn't stand the
Yeah, like
turn-based,
some people just can't get into turn-based stuff. Absolutely adore turn-based RPGs from back in the day and even newer ones.
Yeah.
But I also really like action RPGs, and Zelda has always leaned more into that action
Yeah.
RPG element. So I'm excited to see Final Fantasy move into that more action RPG territory with this game and probably future games from here. Some fans, divisively don't like that change, and you're always going to get those kind of debates and
Yeah.
things when a major franchise is like changes their core philosophy of gameplay, essentially not storytelling necessarily, but gameplay, right? Like, so I don't know. I'm a fan of it, but it's not going to be for everybody. But on the positive end of the other side of the spectrum is people like you who were never able to get into the older ones because of the turn-based stuff. You now have an entry point into the series where you might actually enjoy it.
I do I played a few turn-based games that I did like there was a Paper Mario on the
Oh yeah,
DS. I
yeah,
loved
yeah.
that game.
Love
And then
that game.
South Park. Did you guys play South Park?
Yep, Fractured Butthole.
Yes.
That one.
Yeah. And what was the other one? The Fractured
Ubisoft.
Butthole. And,
That was the
Stick of
Fractured
Truth.
Butthole. Stick of Truth was the first one.
Yeah.
Fractured Butthole.
Dude, I
What a
love those
stupid
games.
name.
I love those games. It
So
was
good,
so
man. Those
fun.
are some of the best games Ubisoft has ever made. Like
Yeah.
I hate on Ubisoft a lot. Like, let's make 5,000 more Assassin's Creed games. Thanks.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to their Star Wars game, Star Wars Outlaws on next gen systems, because I always play as many Star Wars games as I can. Still haven't gotten around to that Jedi Survivor one that came out just a couple months ago though. I have it, but I just all these games take time. It's not. That's a problem sometimes. Like, that's why I lean into retro gaming.
Yeah.
Emulation, if there's no legal way of actually purchasing game, which is really a major problem. Like, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but Video Game History Foundation just recently released a study that they did, and 87%. Okay, this is a massive number. 87% of games that have come out prior to 2010, and the reason why they chose 2010 is like 2010 is around the time frame where people started buying more games digitally than physically. That was like the turning point, right? 2010. Yep. Ever since then, way more games sell digitally than physically. Like, we're talking about 80-90% of games. Like, when you see like, oh, that game sold 3 million copies, well, 85% of them were digital.
Crazy.
Okay,
I'm a total case.
Yeah. So, but 87% of games released prior to 2010 are not commercially available on any legal way of buying that game currently. Meaning your only option is to find a used copy somewhere, at a game store, via, offer up, Facebook, whatever, eBay, however you want to get it. If you don't track down that used physical copy, then you have no way of actually paying for that game currently. 87%. So we're talking about hundreds of thousands of games that you have no actual way of buying, and the only way for people now to experience those games is through emulation. And then that gets into all these gray areas of legality, like what's legal, what's not legal, like whose responsibility is it the rights holders, is it is it the consumer, is it the people in between, is it the people creating the emulators? Well, no, it's not, because creating an emulator is within itself is legal. Like there's legal precedent for that. You have arguments on all sides of the spectrum there, but that figure blows my mind. 87% of games released prior to 2010, you have no way of buying right now legally.
Yeah,
That's
wild.
crazy.
Yeah, so like there's like a lot of like PS1 games there. Like sometimes I think about like,
Mhm.
man, I would like
Yeah, and those
Psycho
games have
Filter.
skyrocketed, right? Because you if you want Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on Dreamcast, prepare to pay several $100s for a used copy,
Dude,
right?
I
Or I
traded that
emulate it on
game.
my fake Game Boy. That's what
Yeah.
that's what I like, what
I
am I gonna do?
I had that game and I traded it, and it pisses me off so much. Like I traded it for a PS3 game at the time because I was like, oh, I'm getting a brand new PS3
Yeah,
game.
Yeah, you're
But I
moving up.
but I still have it downloaded on my Xbox 360. It's
right.
like it's
Right.
still on there, and it's not even on any sort of store at all. So
That's my point, right? Came out
yeah,
prior to 2010. There's no current way of buying it. The
yeah,
only
I'm
current way of
so glad I have
only
that.
current way of buying Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is by buying the arcade one-up Marvel vs. Capcom 2 home arcade machine. That's like your only, and that's a commercial emulator, right? There's a difference between commercial emulation and public, freely distributed emulators. So
And I
yeah,
don't think like it's like fair. Like I get it, they're trying to make money off their license or their game or whatever.
yeah, but
But
nobody's making any money off of games that aren't available to anybody. Think
yeah, and
about
then
it.
there's games that are not
Yeah.
going to be like you can't make a arcade of one up for like some more of the obscure games, that people.
Right, because there needs to be a business model for Arcade One Up to make money. They also need to pay for those licenses. They've licensed the shit out of the licenses that are available to them. They've made a cab for like every Capcom fighting game that you possibly can. They've done Killer Instinct. They've done a fuck ton of MKs, Midway stuff, right? They've done a bunch of the Konami stuff with the Turtles in Time. Still probably my favorite arcade game ever. But yeah. It's very tough. Those business models are very tough to like make money on long term without, they've had to go into debt, I'm sure. So yeah, it's sad to me because like people talk about preserving things like look at comics, right? If you
Yeah,
can't afford to buy a copy of X-Men #1 from 1963, you can just buy it digitally today and read it. You could
yeah,
buy a trade paperback of it,
yep,
right?
yep.
It's
Reprints or
available.
whatever.
Yeah, it's available. Reprints. It's available to consume, right? That's not the
Yeah.
case with 87% of video games that came out prior to 2010. That's unreal.
So I feel like if someone can figure it out, I feel like that's like something for, you know,
Well, the idea I had was like, well, what if there was a way to sell your used? What if there was a way to sell the rights to your digital game library, like almost like they're an NFT, or like they have their
Mhm.
own
Oh yeah,
transferable token?
they,
The problem there is then that you'd have to get all the software publishers and game developers on board with a model around that, where
And then
everybody participates in the revenue of every resale of that digital game, right?
and that shit never works.
That would be so tough to police and create a system around.
people
Yeah,
people
because
people do that with Fortnite, don't they? They sell their accounts with all their skins and everything.
Maybe like
the ones I-
that's one side of gaming I avoid with
Yeah.
like
Well, I'm just talking about like my kids tell me this, like, oh,
yeah,
you can sell your accounts.
I guarantee
I've heard like
you
Pokemon
in
Go, people do that.
I guarantee you in those communities, Roblox,
Yeah.
Overwatch, Fortnite, I guarantee you that they're doing stuff more on the front of innovation than anywhere else because they have the scale.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, because all those skins come out like, and they're there for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, and then they disappear forever. And then like
Right.
all those people that buy them, they can sell their accounts. This is what my son says. They can sell those accounts for tons and tons of money
Yeah.
because it's the only way to get those
Right.
all those skins. But yeah,
And so I would want to also ask you guys, like, what are some of the video games that you guys have like spent the most time on?
Well, before I went into my whole Final Fantasy diatribe, because I did want to circle back to the question about comics and games.
Yeah.
I'm wearing this hat for a reason. I mean, Spider-Man on PS4, I must have spent like 175 hours just fucking flying around the city, just fucking around. I mean, I love the game. I mean, the Miles Morales follow-up was good, but I haven't touched that really. a ton because it's just kind of like a side adventure to me a little bit. But this Spider-Man 2 game that's coming out where they're both in it, Miles and Peter, and it's, you know, they've got Venom and it looks great, you know, and so I know that that's going to be a comic book game that I'm going to sink a lot of time into when that drops. What's that coming out? October?
Sometime
yeah,
this fall.
In the fall, yeah.
And
so I love
yeah,
that. I love that game. So I put a lot of time into that game. Breath of the Wild on Switch, which is, you know, not the current Zelda game, but the one that came out, you know, the original, like the current one, Tears of the Kingdom, is the sequel to Breath of the Wild. But Breath of the Wild, I have put like 120 hours into that, something like that. So that's pretty up there as far as time spent. Like I don't. It's hard to quantify time put into games where it's like, these are games that I just throw on for 15 to 20 minutes at a time, like, but 1,000 different times, you know, throughout years and years of gaming, like Mortal Kombat games, Street Fighter games.
Yeah, that's how I feel about like the Super Mario World. Like I probably put 1,000 hours into that, but it's been over 30 years.
Exactly, in 20 to 30 minute like intervals, you know, or 1 hour at a time, maybe.
I was telling my nephews like that I had put 25 hours into Ragnarok, God of War Ragnarok.
I haven't started that yet.
And they like laughed at me. They were like, 25 hours, give me a break. That's like nothing. I was like, Jesus Christ,
that's child's play.
Yeah, that's a lot. But like, you know, to me, that's a lot with like my schedule.
Yeah, games are like getting bigger and bigger. But I think for me, it was The Witcher. I was playing The Witcher 3, and I spent like, I don't know, like 500 hours on there. And
shit.
Yeah. But I'm gonna say, look.
I mean, because that's kind of an open world RPG. Like it's an open world action RPG. So
I'll tell you where I spent a lot of time. I spent about 100 hours playing the Gwent game, the card game that's inside The Witcher.
Oh, like the mini game inside of it.
Yeah. So I spent like 100 hours like going all around the world, going to all these taverns, trying to get like these rare cards. Every time you beat a guy, you get a rare card, and it was just so addictive, and I just really enjoyed it. But I think games are getting so much bigger, and they just take longer to complete now.
Yeah. And that's why retro gaming is kind of refreshing, to go back and play these like simpler games. I feel that are it's just a quick, fun session of gaming. It's not, you know, like when I hop on one of my arcades and I load up a ROM from the 80s, the 90s, you know, the early 2000s at most, you know, nothing sooner than that. It's like, okay, it's like I can just hop on, put in a few fake quarters, play for 20 minutes, and then I've had my little fix, and like I didn't have to spend, you know, countless effort and hours. Like there's only a few franchises, like I said, Final Fantasy, Zelda, some Star Wars games, things like that, where I will sink those 100+ levels of time, because there's just simply like, not enough time to do that.
For me, it's like shooting games or like fighting games, because you can find like a stopping point. You know, you're like, oh, just get a few matches in, you know, shoot a little bit, and then you can jump off. You can find a stopping point. But with those other stories, they just get so.
Well, they just pull you in to where you want to keep going, and it's like, oh, it's like there's moments that feel appropriate to pause, and then there's moments where it's like, well, I can't stop here. You know, like there's too much story happening right now. You know.
That used to kill me whenever I was like a teenager, you know, because it'd be like 3 a.m. I'd be like, I got to keep going. And be like 6 a.m.
So when PlayStation 1 came out and Final Fantasy 7 was all the rage, and that was the first, you know, PlayStation Final Fantasy game. Prior to that, it was all on Nintendo systems. And it was on 3 discs, I believe, the Final Fantasy 7 on PlayStation. And I distinctly remember staying awake for like nearly a 30 some odd period of time from a Friday. It was like Friday night till almost like early hours of Sunday morning. I was playing that game like intensely, you know, like nonstop, only stopping for like snacks and bathroom, you know, like I could never do that again. That ain't ever happening again. But,
it's a marathon right there, boy.
Yeah, man.
And so You guys got any cool stuff you guys want to show off? Anybody want to
You
kick
guys
it
have got
off?
anything? Like I don't know if I showed my Xbox headset that I found. I brought some other random odds and ends, but I don't know if they're even worth showing. But
I mean, I got a few comics here that are video game based.
Yeah, I have a few comics and a few games.
I found some magazines recently, like look at this Sega Visions magazine with a Sonic Spinball featurette on there, talking about the Jurassic Park, Street Fighter
nice.
2, Special Champion Edition,
Still in the bag.
that kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
yeah, I was just seeing.
I think I posted this on my Instagram recently. Found this Game Pro with this WWF Attitude. This is from like 1999, I think.
Yeah, that was the best era of wrestling right there,
Dude,
boy.
So good, man.
I used to
I've-
love
I'm-
those things too.
I'm finding all sorts of stuff from my old collection where it's like I don't have things complete. Like here's like the outside of a Genesis box for the Power Rangers game on Genesis. I can't find the cartridge.
Huh.
Can't find the inner sleeve or the manual or any of that stuff. I've found random game manuals that I don't have the other, complete side of it. Here's a Sonic Classics, combo pack game on Genesis where I found the manual, but I'm still looking for the rest of it. Tecmo Bowl, I found the manual for Tecmo Bowl on NES, but I long ago got rid of the majority of my NES games, from my childhood collection. But all of a sudden, all these manuals started turning up in boxes that I haven't looked at in forever. Time Lord for NES, there was an instruction manual. Found the manual for the Spider-Man Genesis game, but I can't find the game or the box or anything like that. I found the Genesis manual for Mortal Kombat.
All right.
So I'm looking for the rest of that. Found my Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt NES manual.
It's a classic right there.
Yeah. Found my Street Fighter 2 Special Champion Edition manual on Genesis. I found this crazy Madden 94 fold out. I'm not going to fold it all out here, but it's like one of those fold out posters that they stuck in the game back in the day. I found a couple other fold out posters. I think these are the kind of things that make me really nostalgic for retro gaming. Like there's a Sunday night NFL ESPN football poster.
Okay.
I found. I think this is a Sonic 2 poster for Genesis that I found recently. So look at that.
That's awesome.
Nice.
All this crazy shit on the back.
Where do you go looking for these things? Like what kind of?
All of this stuff was from old boxes, from stuff from my old childhood collection and stuff like that, where a lot of those games were donated or given away by my parents and stuff like that. So these are odds and ends that I'm now finding years later. Kind of thing. Here's the WCW Nitro on PlayStation. I found the manual, but I can't find the disc or the case.
I love that game. Yeah.
Great. I remember really enjoying the game, but I can't find the game. I only got the manual right now. Here's a classic PlayStation 1 era game, Gex, Enter the Gecko.
Yes. Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Hilarious game, dude. I love this game. But so it's complete except for the game. So I'm if anybody has a loose disc out there, I'm looking for the loose disc. Here's another PlayStation 1 classic fighting game, Bloody Roar.
Oh, I love that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That and Clay Fighters.
Clay Fighters was great.
Love
so I'm missing the disc on that one. Missing the disc on Power Move Pro Wrestling. So I'm looking for the disc so I can complete it.
I had that one too.
Looking for the disc for Motor Racer 2 so I can complete this because it's complete besides the disc. R4 Ridge Racer Type 4 on PlayStation 1. So have the art, have the case, but don't have the discs. Can't find them. I also just have a bunch of discs where I have the disc, but I'm looking for the artwork. I'm not going to show all those. But here's one find that is really cool for me. So remember this PlayStation Underground magazine? Any of you guys have this back in the day?
Yeah.
PS1 era. They would always have these crazy demos and stuff like that.
I loved getting demos and
I loved having the demos.
Yeah, I loved
that. It's cool, man. And
I was literally telling my son about this. This is so awesome.
This was revolutionary at the time. You know, like it was like, oh, it's like a digital video game
Yeah.
magazine. You know,
It was the only way to like try out a video game. You know,
It-
like there was no other way
yeah.
to do this. It was so
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 this
cool.
this is PlayStation Underground Magazine 3.2, and what makes this especially cool for me is that this had a demo of Final Fantasy VIII on it. So before Final Fantasy VIII came out, you could try out Final Fantasy VIII if you were a PlayStation Underground subscriber, right? And I was like, I would get this every month. I wish I had all of them that I had, but I could only find two of them, like number 18 and number 3.2. Like I forget how this numbering system works with these magazines, but yeah, man. So that's what I just quickly grabbed real quick because like I also grabbed there's a couple other magazines that I found, like Next Gen. Remember this magazine? Next Generation. It's like a newer magazine. It
I
came
don't know
out,
if
I
I
think
remember that one.
this was more of like PS2 Dreamcast era
Okay.
Okay.
of gaming when this magazine was coming out. But yeah, I don't know. I thought those were fun without like, pulling complete in box games off my shelf or sealed games or any of that stuff. I got to save some content for my channel that I never make videos on,
That's right. That's right. You're about to relaunch it, right? Like the whole
Well, I already did
rebranding.
relaunch it, really. I mean, it's tough when you should know. I mean, you had a different name that you had for a long time, and then all of a sudden you were Black Swamp Comics. I'm sure it took a minute for people to like figure that out and adjust to it. Like I've noticed that since I changed the name, like my videos have gotten like half the views that they normally get. The posts I make on Instagram get, like 20 likes instead of 80 likes, because because Instagram's not going to recommend my page until people actually start engaging with my page again, so it's like the same 20 people that see my posts. It's a little, I'll be honest, it's a little frustrating, but
Mhm.
at the same time, and you've been through that kind of, name change thing on your channel, on your social media. It's still better than the alternative of sticking to a name that you just no longer feel comfortable with using, kind of thing, so I still feel good about it overall. It's just a little frustrating to like break through these social media, like, AI algorithms and bullshit. But yeah.
Mhm. For sure.
But yeah, check me
Um,
out. Panels, Pages, Pixels, YouTube, Instagram, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then if you actually enjoy watching other people play video games, then it's my gaming channel, Cypher Diaz, Cypher DYEZ. But that's more of like I don't want to play the game, but I'll just sit back and watch somebody else play it for, hours on end.
yeah.
It's not really collecting. That Panels, Pages, Pixels is my collecting channel. I'm just
And I know
now
you're
making it more about everything that I collect now, as opposed to just comic books, original art. It's everything: comics, art, games, movies, toys, figures, whatever. I'm into all sorts of things collecting wise, and I felt like Comic Books NYC is very limiting, and it's very specific to a single location. So it's like, how long can I really feel comfortable with that? It wasn't gonna last,
and,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
you're also on Threads too. I saw that. You just joined
Yeah,
on
yes, I am. I'm trying it, like it's not very exciting to me though, to be honest.
yeah.
But
I
yeah,
mean, it's a new little platform. It's all right. We'll see how long it before it gets crazy. But I
yeah.
know I think you're kind of like like ahead of like a little trend and stuff because I feel like people are starting to pivot a little bit more towards video games as far as
I have
I think
noticed
people are
that. I
starting
mean,
looking.
I think there's a lot of crossover, obviously, and
Hmm.
overlap in amongst quote unquote nerdier communities like that. Like I mean, I'm not saying that in a derogatory way. I'm saying it in like as a term of endearment kind of thing, like
Hmm.
gamers. I think a lot of comic book fans are gamers, and a lot of gamers are
Yeah.
comic book fans. And I think that a lot of those people cross over into those things,
Yeah. I agree.
clearly.
Yeah.
Like we're having this whole conversation and fucking Steve's got two
Yeah.
arcade one-ups like behind him.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Um, you got anything to show Steve? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see it, Steve.
I'll do a quick run through. So I didn't know what you guys were bringing. So I brought like my Turtles 4
Hell
and
yeah.
Turtles.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
like I was trying to think of like, what games are actually
I need
comic books?
to get my mine graded. I have it raw as well.
Yeah, I got this signed, and only CBCS was there, and they weren't doing
Mhm.
magazines at the time. So
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like it's awesome. I got it done myself, so I'm not doing anything with it. And then one of the best covers is this Jim Lee
Yeah,
Wolverine. I love that. But
nice.
I don't know.
You had him sign the NES.
No, I was thinking about it, and then I was like, I'm
Ah.
gonna have him sign the comic and then put the
Mm.
NES game by it. But like I've been getting games signed now, so
Yeah.
I'd like to do that, and then I'll show you like my games that I got. This one is a Tony Hawk Pro
Fuck yeah.
Underground.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah,
Hell
this
yeah.
one I got this signed by Mike Vallely,
Nice.
and this was he was a secret character in this game, so this is like his his introduction to the game.
Dude, I mean, that's what I mean. The Tony Hawk franchise is the single largest selling
Dude, I loved
Sports-
that game. Whenever I was younger.
sports video game franchise. It's crazy.
The Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 with the secret character of Spider-Man. Oh, that
Mhm.
was the shit. And
Yeah.
then I got
Yeah.
Mike Vallely to sign this one, which is his first full appearance, I guess.
Nice.
In the
Nice.
franchise. So and then me and Evan, my son, I got my Metal Gear Solid signed by
Nice.
David Hayter, by the voice actor.
Cool.
So, and then
That's a
next,
classic. Yeah.
yeah, he got his Metal Gear PS3 of like I think it's 2, 3, and 4 or something like that.
That was a game that I owned back in the day. I still have it complete. I
Yeah.
don't have it signed or anything, but I still have it. It's on my shelf complete. But I always sucked, like
I
I've
love
never
that
been
game.
I've never been good at stealth. Like stealth is
Yeah.
it's like I respect stealth, but I'm not good at it.
There was
So,
another stealth game called Manhunt that I
Hmm.
fucking loved. It was the best game. And then next week,
that's a killer game. Yeah.
Yeah.
next week I'm going to see Green Jello, and they did
Nice.
the music for this.
Theme song. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to get them to sign this, and then if I ever meet Bill Sienkiewicz, I'll get him to sign this since he did
Sick.
the artwork. And then the
Sink,
biggest thing that I
little
got,
sink.
the biggest thing I got signed was my
Oh yeah.
my Mortal Kombat.
Oh, you got the marquee sign. Nice.
Yeah, I got the marquee signed by like 5 of the actors that did like all the ninjas, Quan Chi, Cabal, Raiden,
Johnny
pretty
Cage.
much. Yeah, Johnny Cage. It was pretty much everybody, and then
Like the original voice
Well,
recordings.
no, the actors, the guys that are in the game,
Oh, okay,
like
got it.
the actual
The
actors, and
box,
then like while I was there, I got my son this one
Nice.
for the the what would that be, the friendship?
Hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm like really getting into
The
wanting to
opposite of fatality.
Yeah, I'm really getting into wanting to get my games autographed, because my grandma was nice enough to keep everything. Like I have everything, like all my Nintendo games, my Super Nintendo.
Man,
My Nintendo's still in the box with the freaking foam and everything. Everything, like I have everything, so it's
yeah,
super cool.
it saddens me because sometime along the way, like I told my parents that yeah, it's fine, just donate my old games, charity, Goodwill, garage set, whatever, just
Yeah.
like I'm never gonna need them again, kind of thing. And I was
Oh,
in
that's
that,
crazy.
and I was in that phase of my life at one point, and like that's why a lot of these like games I'm missing the disc, but I've now found the art all of a sudden, or I
Yeah.
found the disc and like I can't find the case, or whatever, and it's a little frustrating, especially and the old Nintendo stuff is long gone, like I've
Yeah.
had to re-buy or recollect
Yeah.
some of the 8-bit and 16-bit stuff that I really want, which is like, man, it's
still-
like
I
I already
still
had
have-
this.
I still have like my Nintendo bag that I kept all my Nintendo games in, like everything.
Nice.
It's like this is the game my son got signed, the Metal Gear
Nice.
Solid HD collection.
Snake.
Cool.
It was super cool because when we met that guy, he was like sneaking in like voice acting stuff. It was crazy. Like, and then like whenever me and Leo are going to go to a con in September, and Bill Morrison's going to be there, so I have like this game. I want him to sign it right there. 'Cause he did the artwork for that, and then I have another Nintendo game. I think it's Bart's World.
Nice.
I want to get him to sign those. So
I wonder if CGC, VGA, and WADA will start doing yellow labels for video games.
I told Leo, I said, dude,
Yeah.
this is the next big thing. Like, we got to get our games
They
signed.
got to get on that, right?
Yeah, because I said, like, all these kids, like, they're so into games, you know, like, and we're into games. Like, this is like the next big thing. Like, I don't have
It's a bridge.
Yeah, all my stuff is fucking opened and old as fuck, you know, like it looks like shit. So I would love to get into like collecting sealed games, especially the ones that I want. Like I would really like to get a sealed game of this. This isn't my original. Like my original I had for Super Nintendo.
Got it. Yeah. Which
my
had a much more fragile box.
Yeah, well, my cousin borrowed it and I never got it back, so I had to get this one. But I do have I think I posted on my Instagram. I cleaned out my grandma's or my old room, and I still have like my Super Mario Kart 64, my Super Mario 64, all in box. Like,
damn, bro,
it's so crazy. Like,
dude, even unsealed, like if it's in good condition, those go for a lot of money, man.
Yeah, I have them in the box with the little white container that you put the game in.
Yeah, totally.
Instructions. Yeah. I only have 3. I have that game. I have Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, and Zelda Majora's
Ocarina of Time.
No,
Majora's Mask.
Majora's Mask, and then I have the box to Madden, but I don't have the game.
Word.
But Las Vegas, some Las Vegas game, but I still have the box game. But it's fucking awesome. Like whenever I was going through all that stuff, I was like, holy fuck! Like I can't believe she actually.
Yeah, it just brings back so many memories.
Dude, like I flooded with memories. It was so awesome. So yeah, that's kind of all I have to show.
Cool.
Yeah. So, I don't have like any of my PS2 or whatever stuff, but I still have some of my PlayStation stuff. I think it's in my mom's garage, but I haven't really gone over there because it's like on the top shelf. But
you got any of these games that I need to complete? Let me know.
It's mostly PS1, PS2, but if I see something, I'll let you know. I do have some comics here. Like I do have the Gears of War.
Nice. Oh yeah. And this is a corner that covers both comics and video games that I want to learn more about. Like I feel like I don't have as much wheel knowledge about comic book video game comics as I do about video games or just comics, you know, like, but video game comics specifically, that's like a hole in my knowledge that I need to fill in the gaps a little bit better. Because I know that there are first appearances of like Mario in comics, first appearances of Link, first appearances of all sorts of big characters, but I'm not an expert.
And it is, and I don't think there really is any experts right now because I think it's uncharted territory. Like I don't think anyone's really.
I think the only one I have is first appearance of the video game version of, like the video game Spider-Man in comics, because they did an actual book.
Yeah,
for
I got that one. I got that one signed by Clayton Crane.
Oh, nice. Yeah, because he did the cover. He did. Yeah, did he do the main cover, or was it a variant? I don't remember, but yeah.
I think he did the main cover.
I think he did the main cover. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I have the Blockbuster exclusive that came out as well.
That's awesome. That's real awesome.
So Blockbuster is another thing that's kind of nostalgic for me, especially in
dude. It's a whole collecting category. I feel.
My girlfriend used to work there, and I remember like going in there and just like because she would get like 3 free movies and a video game a week, and I was just like in heaven, like walking around.
Yeah,
like, I could get anything I want.
I just remember awesome. even when I was in high school, it was still a thing, So I especially remember my high school days, like after school, me and a bunch of buddies going to the Blockbuster, renting a few games and movies, heading to one of those dudes' houses and just chilling all day, all night.
I honestly feel like after like Blockbuster closed, I lost interest in watching movies the same way, because like I would go in with a plan to get a movie. So we would go through all the aisles, looking at the back, reading it, being like, I don't know about this one. Let's go. And we would decide together. And now it's all on Netflix, and we're just like, fuck, I don't know. And if I'm not
it's so impersonal.
And if I'm not interested in the one she picks, I walk out of the room, or I get on the phone, or I do something else.
Yeah, because you've got other options. Like everybody's got other options all the time.
It sort of sucks, actually.
It does sort of suck.
I think it's you have too many choices, and it's like Blockbuster, you're also putting the effort in there.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
oh,
it's
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 like-
literally like a date night. Like
Yeah.
you're not even with a girl, just with friends. Like you're going. and you're
Shit,
spending time.
even if you're riding solo, being a
Yeah.
lone wolf, it's
Yeah.
better to be
Yeah,
out
exactly.
somewhere.
You're
It's better to be
investing
out
time to
somewhere
do it.
hunting, browsing
Yeah.
versus alone on a TV screen. Like,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
browsing Netflix. It's like,
yeah,
okay.
most of the time on Netflix, I don't even watch like that shit. I watch YouTube only. Really.
I hate Netflix.
Yeah,
Like,
and
it's-
every time like I do pick something like on Netflix or something, I barely give it the time of day.
sure.
I'll watch it and be like, and I'll start getting on.
I mean, there's definitely some things on there that are great
Yeah.
that I've enjoyed. Stranger Things,
Yeah.
obviously, and others. But
yeah,
yeah,
and I agree with that. Like, but even like I'm watching The Witcher now, and I have to watch
Mhm.
every episode 2 times because the first time I'm watching it and being on the phone, and
too
then
many
the
distractions.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then the second time I'm like, okay, what did I miss? And I'll rewatch it. It's
Yeah.
not the same as like I'm not spending $3 to get a movie that I only get for 2 days or whatever.
yeah. The diversion of attention is like a pandemic of its own. Fucking, it all. I mean, I think the iPhone has a lot to do with that, and technology since then. But
I've told my
Yeah.
son a million times, like I would love to get rid of my iPhone and get a flip phone, but I love Google Maps too much.
right.
I
Yeah.
just
And
don't want to do it.
And I think also too, like you said, like date night for like Blockbuster, because usually when we went to Blockbuster, we usually went to go get a pizza too. So
Yeah,
it was
Mhm.
it
always
was a
like
big deal. It was
it
a
was a
big
thing,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So yeah, I definitely agree. Blockbuster, dude. I mean, I think they fucked up with charging the shit out of late fees and stuff. And then Redbox kind of had it to where they were like charging you like $1 every single day, which was reasonable, you know what I mean? But Blockbuster was like charging you like
Dude,
fucking full price.
Blockbuster used to charge $1 for not rewinding your VHSs. Like
Yeah,
they had the slogan, the "Be Kind, Rewind."
Be kind, rewind.
Do you remember during the sort of tail end of Blockbuster though, where like, so we're talking about, not the VHS era of Blockbuster, but more of the
DVD.
early DVD,
DVD,
Blu-ray era of Blockbuster, when they were kind of on the decline and about to close. You
Yeah.
go into one of those around that time and you could buy so many things for cheap, good
Yeah.
deals. And they're like freaking like used bins and shit. Like I got so much good shit from there, man.
Sam I Am
Man.
says like he only keeps Netflix for his kids, and I literally like if it wasn't for my girlfriend, me and my kids only watch YouTube. Like literally,
Right.
It's like besides like a few like of like the Marvel shows or whatever like that, like, and even those I'm kind of getting a little worn out on.
I just feel like, I like owning my stuff to the degree as much as possible that I can. You can't own everything because you
can't own everything, but like it's a different feeling when you do own it.
It's a different feeling when you do own it. Yeah, I agree. You can't own anything on Disney Plus.
Yeah, it's just like when you pay for something with a credit card.
You're renting it eternally.
Yeah,
is what you're doing.
Yeah,
and it's
Dude, I bought digital stuff and it doesn't even like I feel like it's not even mine.
It isn't.
Like I don't even feel like it's mine. Like I want,
especially because those storefronts are controlled by Amazon or Apple or Google. You know what I mean? It's
I fucking hate that. There was one time that GameStop was I think gonna go out of business or something because like Xbox was only gonna do digital or something, and then like everything fucked up, and I was like, dude, that sucks because. You know
that GameStop's getting so dire that they're now getting back into retro games. Like if you go into a GameStop now,
I saw a Mario.
You can find PS1, old Nintendo.
Yeah, I was like,
I saw a Super Nintendo and shit. Like
I did too. I was like,
now's the time to go into a GameStop.
Yeah,
for sure.
I agree.
For that, as next one I was going to show is the GameStop exclusive for it. Actually, I was looking at the chat on StreamYard. Nothing was popping up.
Yeah, so I've been like looking at it on my phone, and it's a huge chat going on. And
really? I'm not seeing anything here up on the screen in StreamYard.
Like, the last thing I saw was Sam I Am, but like it's been like going like Bobby's in here, Sam's been talking, Howie's been talking.
What's up, guys? I'm not seeing any of the comments at all.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any, but thank you guys for being here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Sure. Yeah, shout out to you guys. Yeah, because on StreamYard for some reason it's not uploading, but I can see them now
That's weird,
on
man. I
YouTube.
feel
So
bad. I haven't seen any of the comments.
Yeah, I tried to text Leo about that. I was like, dude, I'm not seeing any of the comments on here, but I'm like reading all of them on my phone. But
yeah, so let me see if I can look at some of these. Bobby the Ghetto's shouting out M Mortal Kombat versus DC. Man, I love
Devil
that
May
game.
Cry. That's cool.
I
Nice.
love
May
those
Cry.
games. Yeah.
Uh,
I feel like
Sam, I am backing up my Final Fantasy VII love obsession. Thank you, Sam.
yeah, he's with you, man. He's on that one. Tony Hawk. Yeah, Sam.
I
Is
swear,
on the
like
Tony Hawk.
I would have installed a catheter if I could when I was playing Final Fantasy VII on PS1
I
for
remember
30 hours in a row.
I remember playing games like that, like all night, like where I would stay up like
Yeah.
fucking 24 hours and I'd see bubbles popping in front of my
Totally.
eyes. I was like, holy fuck,
Yeah.
I gotta
Yeah.
stop, and I just can't. I was so addicted.
And then
same.
I got Howie in here. What's up, bro? He says PS3 has the best exclusives in my opinion. So I think the PS3 for me, like the PS3 Xbox 360 era, for me that was like the best I think era of video games because I feel like that was like right before we started getting the microtransactions and we started moving into the digital stuff. So I mean, the stuff we're getting today, I think it's awesome, but you know, you kind of just got to keep in mind with like the whole
Right, like,
microtransactions
I-
and all
look,
that stuff.
You know what
I love
hate?
I love modern gaming, but it's like you have to space out your buying decisions with modern gaming. The
Mhm.
games are like 70 to 90 bucks.
Yeah.
You know, they take often 30 to 100 hours depending upon the game and how crazy you want to get with the game. Like if you're into more story based games rather than just the sports and fighting games, because there are those kind of gamers, just the sports and fighting gamers, just the Call of Duty first person guys out there, which exist
Yeah.
where that like the only reason they have a PlayStation is Call of Duty,
Yep.
like I've never been that into that, but that's a way where people are, kind of consuming it a different way. You have all the looter shooter players where it's just like you're only playing free to play games, really, right? So you have a lot more choice, but I'm with you, Leo, where it's like I think that was like the end of the innocent era of just you buy a game and you play a game.
Put it in and you
Yeah.
just play it till you finish it and then you play another one.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't
So-
stand how like they build games now around DLC. Like they put them out with like DLC in mind,
And patches for
and it
fixing and all
fucking
that.
sucks,
Yeah.
dude. Because like you buy Mortal Kombat day one, and it's $100, and then it's $30 a year later. But it's like all this DLC that's already going to be in the game, but
Right.
they're trying to like suck all this money out of you.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
can't stand it.
especially with big tentpole AAA releases like that, and even more so with the ones that have a multiplayer focus, like fighting games and first-person shooters. It's like you're paying for that community wave, right? Where
Yeah.
everybody's playing that game right now. So now's the time to be playing that game because you can get a million multiplayer matches if you want, right? But 2 years later, it's a big question mark. Are people going to be playing? Are people still
Mhm.
going to be out there to have ranked matches in a fighting game? Yes,
Well-
in some games, no in others. So it's
What's
It's
your
a- it's
guys'
a-
what's your guys' favorite type of game? Like I really enjoy a first player or like a God of War type of game, like an action adventure where I can.
Yeah, I will
Just
just I
thinking
mean
of
because
that.
I already kind of played my cards by saying Final Fantasy and Zelda, so I will say action RPG/RPG. Like I like a traditional RPG for certain parts of it, and then I like action RPG for more of the combat side of it. But I gotta go with that because those are what my favorite franchises are in.
I do have a sweet spot for fighting games though. Like
I love fighting games.
I had the funnest time with my friends back in the day, like where we would all sit around past the controller. We'd like one
King of the
person
Hill.
one person would be like 15 wins on Street Fighter, and we'd be like, fuck this game, put in Mortal Kombat.
I
and
got
then,
you, bro. I got
yeah,
you.
and then somebody else would do it, and then we'd be like, fuck that game, let's put in
Fighting
Something.
games are definitely up there as far as on like playing with friends or multiplayer type stuff,
Yeah.
but also beat 'em ups. So like the Shredder's Revenge style,
Yeah,
Streets
X-Men
of
Legends.
Rage. Yeah, like you're walking through the level and beating the shit out of people, but with other people.
They just put out like a Double Dragon, a new Double Dragon fighting game that I'll probably download.
Nice. I love Double
Dude,
Dragon. That's such a great franchise.
We got to get down on the Shredder's Revenge.
Shredder's Revenge. Yeah,
Yes.
we got to do a community thing with that. That's the co-op.
Yeah, I was so into fighting games. Like I named both of my sons like their middle names after like characters I really liked, and my oldest
Scorpion.
Yeah, my oldest is named Broly, and then my youngest is Fury for Brian Fury from Tekken.
Nice.
And I fucking loved Tekken. Like that was the best game.
Tekken's great.
Yeah. But yeah, I have so many fond memories of those things.
I like Soul Calibur also. Like I think I think out of those big fighting franchises, I feel like Soul Calibur is kind of like the black sheep where it doesn't get spoken about as much as Street Fighter, definitely not Tekken, definitely not as much as like the crossover games with comics like the Marvel vs. Capcoms and things like that. Like it's kind of like the hidden gem in the corner. Like I really love Soul Calibur a lot.
That game fucking had a Star Killer in it, and I was like, holy shit, this is the best game ever. That game, Rival Schools was awesome.
Yeah. I know they had a character that came from Yoshimitsu or whatever.
Yeah.
They had him on there. I love the dude with the nunchucks, bro.
That was
Mikey or whatever his name
No,
is.
Maxi.
That was his name. He looked like Elvis and shit.
Yeah, I love that character. Maxi was like the Eddie Gordo of fucking Soul Calibur.
He was cheese, bro.
Dude, he was like you could pick him up and just fuck people up with him. It was so bad. But like all those people was awesome.
I mean, that was more of it's like a Sega franchise, right? Like the Soul Calibur. Really.
I don't know.
Like
I only had it for PlayStation. You know what pissed me off was Soul Calibur had characters that were exclusive, and like the Xbox had Spawn, the Nintendo had Link, and PlayStation had Heihachi.
Yeah, the GameCube one had Link. I remember.
Yeah, and I was like, "What the fuck, Heihachi?" Like, I love Heihachi, but like, we already have Yoshimitsu. Like, give us somebody else, you know. But oh, dude, that was a killer game. I hated like getting backed up to the. It was
the franchise that it kind of stepped into that like Virtua Fighter.
Yeah,
remember that game? Like the style of it, like that 3D polygonal, like Tekken's a little bit like that too, I guess.
Yeah, Tekken is like that, but it's like more polished. But
it is more polished than that.
But yeah, Soul Calibur is definitely like that, and I love that game. I wasn't like a huge Virtual Fighter guy. I did have it, but like it didn't do anything for me. But Soul Calibur. There's
a game. Speaking of Tekken, there's a game Street Fighter versus Tekken on Xbox 360. Yeah. It's a banger. So good.
Like I was such a Tekken guy. Like that pissed me off because it was all Street Fighter. Like
there was a bunch of Tekken people in it.
No, it was half Tekken, but like the whole gameplay, like it was a.
Okay.
It was Street Fighter.
It was Ultra Street Fighter 4 based.
Yeah.
Like
so
the engine around it. Yeah.
And what they were going to do was they were going to do a Tekken versus Street Fighter and then Street Fighter versus Tekken. They were going to swap them. And like
swap the gameplay styles, but keep the rosters. Yeah.
Yeah, or like change up the roster, but switch up the game styles. Like probably. Yeah, but like that game did so bad that they nixed it, and all they did was.
Yeah, I never even knew it existed. I had to. I bought it like 3 months ago.
I bought it day of, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Yeah,
I didn't know about it
because I was such a huge Tekken fan, and then I played it, and I was like, "It's fun, but it's all Street Fighter. All these guys are Street Fighter guys now." And
I would say I'm a bigger Street Fighter fan than I am a Tekken fan, but I really appreciate both.
I agree with you, but I'm the opposite. I appreciate Street Fighter, but I love Tekken.
But you're a bigger Tekken fan, yeah. But I think you're a bigger MK fan than all those, right?
No. If they had a Tekken tab, I would have a Tekken tab. Now throw this one out the window.
So your Tekken's above
bro, let me have
MK.
That.
Okay.
Yeah, Tekken to me is above everything. Like I love Tekken.
Interesting. Okay.
But like, but they tried to.
So you must be looking forward to Tekken 8 coming out pretty soon.
Oh yeah. No, the only thing that sucks is like it's all old characters. It's all Brian Fury, Jin, it's all the old guys. But they did put what I was trying to say was they put a Akuma in Tekken to try to like fix what they they were supposed to do in the first place, which it was cool. But I don't know. Tekken is the shit. I love it.
It is great. It is a great game.
Yeah.
I remember having the original one on PlayStation and playing it constantly back then.
I thought
Tekken 3.
And
I thought
Tekken
it-
3.
and
Man,
Tekken,
they were all great.
and Tekken Bowling, like that's so much fun. Like
I
just
still
to-
play what's the
bowling.
one on the PlayStation Plus service right now, the retro one? I think it's Tekken 2 on there. I still play that.
I don't know. I still play Tekken 7. I thought I was such a badass at that game.
I never really got that into it. Like I have it, but I don't know. I never spent a ton of time on it, I guess.
I was a Brian Fury guy, and that's who I named my son after, was Fury for Brian Fury. And I played a Biggie Shack, and he just fucking whomped on me, and I was like, Jesus, my whole life. I must have
I mean,
sucked.
that's probably the only reason I'd
That's
probably
shit,
get back into it is if maybe I could take on Biggie, because like he's like playing that game every day.
Yeah, I know. And it's like 10 years old, and he's like kept up with it, and I'm just like,
I know.
guess I'm more of a novice, I guess, but loved that
Yeah.
game whenever I was growing up. It was a ton of fun.
I think for me, I think it was like Mortal Kombat, and but I think for me the best one was probably Injustice.
Oh, yeah.
Mortal
Awesome
Kombat
game.
versus DC. I think
That's a
that
good
was, like,
one.
the
Yeah.
pinnacle for me. Like,
I remember when we were like watching Injustice 2, and they were like revealing characters, and we were like wondering who all the special characters were. And there was a dude that was walking out with a trench coat, and everybody's oh, it's Constantine, oh, it's Rorschach. And then like when it finally released, you saw a side get thrown out, and you're like, holy fuck, it's Raphael.
yeah.
It's like, it was like the coolest game ever. Like, love that game.
Yeah,
So
I love
cool.
playing with the turtles.
Yeah.
That was fun as hell.
That was a cool game.
So Howie here says his favorites are like hack slash, fighting games, and horror games. So check this out, man. Speaking of hack slash, which would be, I'm guessing that you're talking about like the old school God of War, like the OG God of Wars, which is like smashing shit. I got this comic here, like,
Oh, that was a
great
nice.
game. I love that game.
Yeah, Dante's Inferno. So this is a convention 2009 exclusive. So this is a preview. It's a lot smaller than the actual
Oh,
comic,
nice.
number one. But yeah, this is such a great game. I still have it here somewhere. I couldn't find it, but
They only made one of those, right?
yeah,
that was a one and done.
Mm.
Yeah, I love that game. That was so
Yeah.
fun.
And they also like saying it's a God of War clone, but it was still so much fun because it was like
It was like
Catholic
God of
mythology.
Yeah, it was like God of War Diablo or something. Like it was so much fun.
I like God of
And-
War, but I haven't played any of the new generation, like the 2018 PS4 game or Ragnar. I haven't played this new era of God of War yet, so I feel like I'm like behind on the conversation of like the new mythology, because I know they switched from like Greek
Yeah.
to Norse, right, or
Yeah.
something like that. Or
Yeah.
I played all of them so far, and like those old God of War games to me were like funner. This is like
right.
very story.
I haven't played the new ones yet, but that's what I hear from people.
The
Yeah,
new ones. The new ones are
story.
fun. Yeah, but it's very.
They're very story driven. Yeah,
very
they're very
story
story
driven. Still
Unless
fun.
you're trying to
Which I
freaking
love.
fight
So
those
I might take
Valkyries.
the new ones more. I don't know.
I know.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on like what you got going on at home. Like if you can
Right.
just like sit down and relax and like sink into something,
Yeah.
then it becomes easier. Like I have a 10-year-old that I love to death, but he comes in and like is like
Right.
talking to me, or like I need to make dinner, and like
Yeah, like
becomes
I only
harder.
allow myself basically 2, maybe 3 games a year at most that I'm sinking like a significant amount of time into.
Yeah.
This year, the only game I've spent any significant amount of time into is FF16, Final Fantasy 16, which I beat in 53 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe sometime this year I'll try the new Zelda game, and if once I start playing that game, I will be spending a ton of time. So like I'm afraid to start it, because once I do, I'm going to be looking for excuses to play it when I should be doing other things.
Yeah, my youngest son, the 10-year-old, beat the last Zelda game like to like 99%. Like he had
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, everything, and
Yeah.
he has the new one in there, but he bought that with like oh geez, Metroid, the new Metroid, and something else,
Oh,
and he's kind of been
Metroid Prime Remastered or something like that. Or
and he's
Metroid
been
Dread.
and he's been playing like a few games at once, and I'm like, dude, I want to get into that Zelda, bro. Like, but I just haven't started it yet. But I love a Zelda.
Yeah, because because there's just so much.
It's so much.
It's
Even
so
like,
much.
I feel like even fucking around on a Zelda, you're putting in 40 hours. You know, like
yeah.
even
That's
just
like
to
that's
fuck around.
that's like that's like nothing in a Zelda in a modern open world Zelda game.
Yeah, you're just fucking
40. You used to be able to beat a Zelda game in 15 to 20 hours before it became open world. You know.
Yeah,
So.
Zelda is the best. Like that Majora's Mask when you had that time
The
frame.
music, man, like the music is just so good. Like, I mean, that's what gets me about Final Fantasy. Also, is just the music is just on another level, and Zelda has always just gotten me like with the music. It's just so good. You know,
like out of every like video game, like because I used to like playing guitar a lot more than I do now. Like I still have all my stuff, but some of the music that I would try to learn would be Zelda, Tetris, Mario Brothers, because it was like so iconic. And
I think music is one of the. It's like the connective tissue that makes games great. You know, that just it's amazing.
Yeah, but it's got to be a
I
certain
love
type of music. You know, like it's got to be that Mario theme. You know, like because like if it's just the God of War, like you know, like that crazy chanting shit. It's good, but it's not like a Mario or a Zelda.
Right. Well, yeah. Like, there's general game music, and then there's like themes that you know identify with.
I still listen to like when you go into the fairy fountain, you know, like guitar people doing that. I'm like, dude.
Oh, dude, I'm obsessed with video game cover stuff.
Oh, have you ever heard of a band called Bit Brigade?
Yeah.
We're gonna go see those guys next month, and they're gonna be doing DuckTales all the way through and Zelda all the way through, and I just fucking love that. Like
amazing music in DuckTales.
Yeah, I love that.
God. And dude, Zelda, of course, but yeah,
love that, dude. But anyway, sorry.
I mean, this is just shit we could talk about endlessly.
Yeah,
so
I know.
You guys have you guys do I was gonna say, have you guys played Mass Effect?
I've never played.
I played the original. I have the whole trilogy on the collection, but I never got past the original.
Okay, because it was like I was gonna say like on the third one, there's like a little jingle that I freaking love. It's my ringtone.
Okay.
Cool. And I just can't get that. But I wanted to show like also like this this collection right here. This is a trilogy right here. So this is a collector's edition. I just want to pull it out, and this actually came with the comic book in the sleeve.
Nice.
Let me see if I can pull it out. I just bought this like at a used record store, and it's like an ash can.
Cool.
And this is actually like a miniature version of the first actual Mass Effect comic book. And I saw this one CGC graded for like, dude was asking like almost $600, dude.
Damn.
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you could just buy like literally you can still buy it. Yeah. And I'm like, you can literally just buy like these special editions off Amazon for like $20. And they come with this. Like brand new.
Take your chances, get a 9.8, you know.
The one that like I would like to get like that would be the Force Unleashed comic with the first appearance of Star-Lord or Starkiller.
Starkiller.
Starkiller. I love that character. I'm not like a huge Star Wars guy, but like Starkiller is the shit. Like
that's one of the best, I guess you would consider like Legends characters now. Like, and I have a feeling they're gonna figure out a way to make him a canon character because he's so popular, you know.
And like can still use him. He still looks like Starkiller.
Right. He still looks the same age.
I know. Like they could still use him. They could even make him an older version of Starkiller.
Yeah, they can change the character however they want to fit it into the canon.
Yeah, even if it's not like Darth Vader's apprentice, you know, like
they wouldn't. I think they'd have to change the character's origin in some way, but they could still do the character.
I would love that. Yeah. I was reading the chat and Howie said the PlayStation exclusive character for Soul Calibur 2 was supposed to be Cloud instead of Hayachi.
FF.
Okay.
That would have actually been cooler.
That would have been cool. Yeah. I mean, when Cloud was added to Smash Brothers, I was pretty excited about that news. So
Smash Bros had a great list with like fucking Snake and
Mhm.
Sonic and Cloud and stuff. That was awesome.
I mean, yeah, they've gone across the depths of
They're-
every game company with
they're,
Smash. It's
they're
crazy.
never gonna be able to make a better Smash than they made with this last one.
It's going to be hard, man. And Mario Kart too. It's with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, with how much DLC there's been, you know,
and still coming out.
still coming out.
Still putting stuff
Yeah.
out. It's crazy.
And you know, like back to the earlier point, I mean, Nintendo finds a way for you to buy the game again, you know, over and over again. So
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so here's this Red Dead Redemption Steelbook.
that's a cool one.
So it still has everything. I just bought this used.
Yeah.
Comes with the map
Mhm.
because without it, probably lost.
Right here. Take
But
that one so you can
cool
take
thing I thought. Sam I Am says Star Killer is awesome. The fact that they haven't put him in the Star Wars universe is criminal.
that. Hey, do you mind if my son jumps in for like the last 10 minutes or so?
Yeah, bring them on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like he's listening to this and he's like, I want to jump in. He just came in my room. So yeah, go type in that code and you can jump in. Sorry. He wants to make me look like crap about video game knowledge.
With his superior gamer skills.
He's about to drop some knowledge, bro.
Yeah. He's actually like, it's crazy, like his like useless facts of stuff. Like
Yeah.
I think I know it and I'm like I try to flex on him and then he tells me and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm an idiot, you know. So I'm old though, like I got an old brain, you know.
That's what I say.
This is like the funnest chat ever. Like I love talking about
I know,
video
dude.
games.
I love game, especially
This is
retro
fun.
games.
Like this is something like I've spent countless hours like by myself doing. You know, like you read a comic book and it's fun and you're done in 15 minutes, you're like, okay. And then but like I'll play the same video game over, the same level over and over. I'll try to get faster at it or I'll try to learn something different about it. Dude,
I mean, it's
Midnight
interactive.
Club,
It's like an interactive comic book, essentially, is what a video game is often the time. It's telling a story, but you're part of it. You know, like you have to.
I know, I love that.
It's on you to progress the story, which is, I love that.
That Midnight Club, I would literally spend more time doing my car than driving.
Customizing it.
Yeah.
I would be like, I got a chrome fucking paint job. This is gonna look killer. Everybody's gonna love this. It'd just be me driving around.
I had like a '96 Impala just because it was like so fucking gangster.
I always wanted like a Hyundai with a body kit. I was like, I gotta have that. I never got it, but like back then, like that game was like, I gotta have it.
Like the bars on the Impala, like if you know how they got the sets, the Impala, like the acceleration was almost full, but then like everything else is like really shitty. So you go basically only go like in straight lines with that car. But it was so cool. It looked cool though. So that was a great one.
That's a heavy car.
The Need for Speed and the Midnight Club, like to me, like I didn't need it to be so realistic. So like I liked having a like an Impala or whatever where it could like drift, you know, and everything. I couldn't stand playing a Forza game. And like
a simulation.
Well, it was so like realistic that you couldn't speed and go around the corners without crashing.
Right. Well, I mean, the Forza Horizon games are more arcadey, but the Forza Motorsport games is more like Gran Turismo, like sim. You know, so it's like they split off their franchise between more arcadey versus sim. Like I like sim racing. Like I prefer Gran Turismo to Forza Motorsport when it comes to sim, but I mean, at the end of the day, arcade racers are just way more fun. Way less pressure, you know, they're just better.
There was a game, I think it was Gran Turismo, and like this was a long time ago, like in PlayStation 1 era. And one of the, like, I think you beat the game or one of the cheat codes, you got the Fear Factory car. And it was like this little shitty car, but it was by the band, the metal band.
The band Fear Factory, yeah.
And you got to drive it around and it had the best handling. And I was like,
nice.
Like those little special DLCs or those little special things like meant so much more back then.
Definitely.
Than like right now where you're like, you get the Terminator, the RoboCop and all those. Like, it's so cool to get all those, but it's like, well, now I'm expecting it. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Right.
like, I'm like,
Yeah, because you had to rely on gaming magazines or word of mouth to even know
yeah,
something
Yeah.
something existed.
dude. Some
You
of
know?
some of that stuff I don't even know how I figured out.
Right.
Like, I don't even know. Like, I think they said like Mortal Kombat, the first guy that did the fatality, John Tobias, was like,
Mm.
the kid looked at him and he's like, "How'd I do that?" He's like, "Oh, like, you know, like you gotta figure it out.
Got to figure it out.
You know," and like he randomly did it, and then like people
Mm-hmm.
randomly did this stuff, and they just figured out all this stuff and made it funner. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
how do I do this? How do I do this?
Yeah, like I
Where's
can't
this
even
going?
remember. I can't even remember like how I first learned. It had to have been in a gaming magazine or something.
You know that Contra code that you're talking about. I
Mhm.
have no idea how I learned that.
I'm pretty
But-
sure that was like word of mouth, like a
Yeah,
friend.
it was
something.
just it was just
Yeah.
something that I learned.
Somebody scribbled it at
Yeah.
school with a notebook, piece
Yeah.
of paper or something.
In between
Exactly.
like a bunch of my video games, like the guides or the booklets, I would have pieces of paper with my arrows saying like up, left,
hmm
select, A, B, you know, like, and I would write my own codes in the back. I think at the end
I miss the other things that came along with the physical games, like like now you get, even if you're even lucky to have a physical copy of a game now, like if it even exists, all you get is like some like warranty card or some shit in there. You don't get a real manual or any real swag or posters in there.
Leo, look at the back of your PS3 Midnight Club book. Does it have a area that just says notes? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah,
That it-
notes. Yeah.
Yeah, it would just say notes, and you could write down notes to yourself, like
Yeah.
different things, like codes or whatever that you wanted to write. I don't know if that one does, but I had a lot of games
No.
that just said notes, and I would
No,
write down codes and stuff.
Mhm.
It might be the older PS. This is the PS3 one.
Yeah, I
So
think
might
it
be
was.
the
I
PS2.
feel like that was probably more PS2 and
Yeah,
prior eras.
Yeah,
The
I
dub
don't.
edition.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly when that was, but I just remember like, oh, there's a notes thing. I'm gonna look at
I
this.
definitely remember notes in like NES manuals and Genesis manuals, probably. But those had like 30 pages sometimes. Like they were like meaty little books.
Yeah,
A lot of the time.
I don't see actually the notes in mine either, but yeah, I do remember like there was notes in them, and I was like, oh, awesome! Like I'm gonna write down all the codes. I'm gonna write down like anything that I want to do. Like, oh yeah, I remember those too, like maps.
Nice. Yeah.
Loved
Yeah,
it.
because Sam IA says the GTA games had maps, so you know where to
Yeah.
go.
I still
No
have
Google Maps.
mine. I still have my GTA 3 complete map and all that.
This is from Red Dead.
Nice.
Yeah, I loved finding like those like the war horses and the chupacabras, like these legendary creatures in that game. That was pretty fun. Um, you guys play any horror games? You guys like horror games?
Bored or horror?
Horror.
Horror.
Yeah.
Horror. I
Horror.
mean, I played the original Resident Evil and Resident Evil 2 on PlayStation 1. After that, I kind of fell off of the Resident Evil series, and I would love to like circle back and experience some of the more newer ones, but I personally just haven't. I love the original Silent Hill 1 and 2 as well
Yeah.
on
I had that
PlayStation, and
demo. Yeah.
Evan.
Parasite Eve 1 and 2 also.
Oh yes, I remember Parasite
yeah.
Eve. Yeah.
Like that was like Square's like survival horror game. Like,
Chantel!
whoa, like Final Fantasy people made, survival horror game. Like, yeah, let me check that out. But
For
yeah,
that, I remember the ad for that. Like, I think it was like in front of one of the games that I used to play. So you always used to see it when you played the game. Like, I don't know if you guys remember that. Like, sometimes you get like an ad. I think it was made by the same people, like Siphon Filter or something. I don't know,
yeah, I
that was
remember
a good game.
Siphon Filter. Yeah,
Yeah, I love that
I
game.
have one of the other PlayStation Undergrounds that I found. I just found the disc only. Or no, this wasn't even PlayStation Underground. This is PlayStation Magazine. So this one
Okay.
has this one actually has the siphon filter demo on it.
Oh,
So
I love
this
that
is
game,
this.
dude.
So this is like where people first like ever got to try siphon filter.
Oh,
Is on
that's
this,
awesome,
this
dude. That's
magazine
awesome.
disc. So yeah,
Yeah.
this had siphon filter, Bust a Groove, Shadow Madness, Street Skater, Akuji,
Yeah.
the Heartless. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So my uncle had that, and that's how I tried out Siphon Filter for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember Busta Groove was on there as well.
Bust a Groove. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Busta Groove, and that was a great game. Like now you look at it, the graphics are kind of like trash, but like it was
Yeah.
such a great story, and like they had like block hands, like no
Mm-hmm.
fingers, but the voice acting was so good, and
Did you
it's
play
just
any of those earlier kind of PS1 era rhythm games like Parappa the Rappa or anything like that? I did
yeah,
back
yeah.
in the day.
I remember
I
that
like
Rap
those.
Papa
Yeah.
Rappa or some shit like
Hmm.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember those. Twisted Metal was one of my
Twisted
favorite
Metal, combat, vehicle combat.
vehicle combat. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was like one of that was like a new that was like a very new concept, I think, at the time. Like you
Was.
didn't really
Yeah.
have combat vehicles and like it was mostly like racing. But yeah, I think
Yeah. I
that's
mean, you could like trace back to Twisted Metal, sort of, the reasons why things like Rocket League are
mhm,
popular today.
yeah. And but
Rocket
because I
League
don't
just
remember.
Rocket League just added in like a soccer element to Twisted Metal. It's like how do you do Twisted Metal and soccer at the same
And
time?
FIFA. All right,
Rocket
we're gonna.
League, yeah.
Hey Leo,
Yeah.
will you my son said he's backstage. Will you let him in?
Oh, sorry about that. I'm on the.
He
Oh,
wants
there he
to
is.
he wants to school us, he said.
There he is.
Game
Okay, Howie, game
enthusiast.
enthusiast.
How's it going, bud?
Oh, I can barely hear you, Evan.
I
Yeah, it
can't
sounds a
hear
little
him.
muffled.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear
That's much
you.
Kinda.
better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. Yeah.
It's a little muffled, Evan.
It's a little low. It's a little low frequency.
There you go. Should be a little bit off now.
No, it might not work, Evan.
Sounds like a Nokia phone from 1997.
It's a brick.
Alrighty. Well, I'll
Yeah,
It's a
stay
reference.
there then.
It's a reference
I'll stay in
he
the
wouldn't
chat.
understand, but
No. That was before his time.
yeah.
But yeah, he's
Yeah.
alright.
All right. Well, we tried.
Anyways, yeah. Yeah, he was asking me and he was like, I don't think I'm gonna get on. But anyways, but whatever.
Nice. It was cool of him to jump on though.
Well, I mean, it was cool that he it was enjoying it enough to want to jump on.
Yeah.
'Cause
Exactly. Right.
I'm his dad, so like I'm very not cool.
Of course. Yeah. How could you be cool, man?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm like the dorkiest person he's
your
ever
parent.
met. Yeah. So yeah, I really enjoyed that he was even willing to like want to hang out, to be honest.
It's interesting
Very
because
cool.
we're all kind of we're all connected through comics, which is a medium that's kind of losing that sort of the youth aspect in many
Yeah.
ways, as far as like the consuming of the content. Like I think people your son's age are reading more manga than North American quote unquote comics
Yeah.
these days, and if they're even reading at all anything, right?
Yeah.
Because they're playing a lot of games, right? And I'm not saying that's good or bad. I just it's an evolution of interests and hobbies and just way people consume media. So
Yeah, I was literally telling Leo about this. Like, I kind of like spoke on this before, but like, I feel like grading,
Crash Bandicoot.
grading
Love 'em.
games and stuff like that is really what, like, if you want to invest, it would be in video games, because like
I agree.
that's what kids are going to be into. Like, you invest, like you buy a Last of Us sealed copy, or you buy a whatever, Five Nights at Freddy's.
I
sealed
would
copy.
say yes, with a kind of warning about the fact that the majority of games moving forward will be digital, and
Oh, well,
and the sales of them have been primarily digital since for the last 13, 14 years.
Well,
And
Leo's
you know,
argument was because me and him were talking about this one day, and he said, like comics are 150,000 for a big run or whatever. Video games aren't rare, like they are
right.
million plus, and like
Well, depending upon which game you're talking about, but yeah, like most
but if
most
you
games that have a following or titles that have a following are plenty abundant out there.
If you pick the big thing, and that's why I was telling Leo,
Yeah.
I was like, so that's why. So there's a million Last of Us or whatever. So you get like fucking Pedro Pascal to sign The Last of Us, get that graded, and it's like, okay, it's one of a million or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
or
that,
one of a much smaller pool. Yeah.
Yeah. I say one of a million, but then it becomes 100 of a million or whatever. But that would be where I would imagine stuff is going, and then they look.
Yeah, I hope so. Especially when it comes to the grading companies, like if they're not there yet, they should be.
Do you have a lot of other stuff that's signed and stuff that is not comic books, like
signed? No, like I'm not actually a big signature person in general. Like even on the comic book side, I don't have a ton of yellow label or even non-graded sign. I have like a small batch, let's say 100 or less signed, in that range of signed comics total. I don't consider that a huge collection of signed stuff.
I would consider myself like an autograph whore, like
right. Yeah, I'm not. It's never been a big priority. I like it, but I've never gone out of my way to spend more on it than I need to, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if I spent more on it like to get it, but I like being able.
You like the experiential part of it, which is I think that's cool. I like that too.
Like I wouldn't want.
For me, I think that's a lot of my art hobby is more about that experiential. But yeah,
because I wouldn't want to pay a lot for like a Stan Lee signature, but I do have one that I got to see him.
Right.
Yeah,
that's all part of the experience.
Awesome. Like whenever I was with Leo last time at Monroe Pop Fest, I got a James O'Barr to sign my Crow VHS, and I'm just like, that's fucking awesome, dude. Like I got the creator to sign the Crow thing.
Yeah, you know what? I might bring my childhood copy of the TMNT movie, like the first movie on VHS. I might bring that to Kevin and have him sign it.
Yeah, exactly. Just stuff like that. It's just, to me, like it makes it more special. It's like, oh, Kevin Eastman, the creator, signed it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I would have loved to gotten this signed by Peter Waller, like right here.
Wouldn't that have been cool?
Awesome. Yeah, that would have been great.
Would you have picked the actual VHS though, or the cassette, or the case?
I feel like at least with Turtles, I'm gonna pick the art.
Me too. Like that's like I picked the art because I display it like that.
Yeah.
So like my James O'Barr, like I'll show that because it's right here. I have it.
But I understand Leo's point of view on that. I understand Leo's point of view on that, like not mess with the art and stuff. I get that point of view also.
I get that, but I know I won't display it like this.
Yeah.
Like I say that about my TMNT VHS, but if I had, let's say I was bringing Kevin Eastman the Turtles in Time on SN. I don't have this, but let's say I did have Turtles in Time on Super Nintendo, the cartridge.
Yeah.
I would probably have him sign the back of the cartridge as opposed to over the artwork on the label, because I don't want the artwork on the label of the cartridge to be diminished necessarily. So I don't know.
So I think for me, it's kind of like when you get like book signed or omnibuses signed, like on the inside, and it's just because like usually when you have like VHS or like DVDs, usually you only see like their spine for the most part. So I think it's just kind of a cool concept when you pull something out and then you take it out of the package and it's like, oh shit, it's signed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think for something like if I was going to display it all the time, I get that too. Like if I'm going to be displaying this thing, then I feel like that's gonna be awesome.
I think it's really probably more about like what you plan on doing with it afterwards.
I got this case set signed by
RL.
No, the cover artist, Tim Jacobus.
Oh, okay. Cool.
But I got them all signed in the inside.
Wow.
Because to me, it made more sense. You know, like,
Yeah.
you know,
I think with traditional books, that's historically been what people more often do than have them sign the real cover.
Yeah. So like, I'm not opposed to getting the inside of something signed. It's just, I guess it
Right.
depends
Like
how I'm going to display it.
like in certain collectible markets, there's a norm versus, you know, and that norm may differ in a different market, you know, like
Yeah.
with regular novels and books, the norm is sign on the first, you know, interior, whatever credit or the dedication page, right? Like,
Yeah.
mostly, I think.
Yeah. And that, it made more sense for me to get it in there because I don't know, it just felt right to do.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Shit, man, just a massive lightning, just like a massive lightning strike just happened like right outside on the street, and thunder's about to, yeah, there's the thunder. There's the thunder.
Yeah, I've been hearing rolling thunder all day. It's been fucking awesome. I love it.
Well, you
Can we
guys
wrap
good?
it up? Yeah, I think
we'll,
we're good.
We'll take this off the air. So everybody watching this on the rewind, man, God bless your soul.
Yeah, sorry, it went an hour long. This was like the
Well,
funnest
this is fun.
ever, dude.
It was just fun.
This
though. It
was
just
like an
kind of-
offline hang but we allowed people to just watch it on the internet, I guess.
Yeah, I love this. This was like so much fun for me.
All right. Well, see everybody that's watching us on in the webs. See ya. Peace.
Tell me